I didn't even realize the sound could hurt until it did. That tiny "seen" check mark. No reply, no typing bubble, no apology. Just a silent stamp on my last message, like the universe saying, "Message received, feelings declined." And the crazy part? It wasn't her leaving that broke me. I've survived launches failing, companies bleeding, whole systems collapsing and rebuilding. But this was different. Because this wasn't a problem I could solve. It wasn't a deadline I could outwork. It was just her choosing nothing. People think closure is a conversation, a final call, a paragraph that explains everything. But Gen Z knows the truth. Closure is often a screenshot, a notification, a quiet confirmation that you mattered enough to be read, but not enough to be answered. I stared at that scene like it was a verdict, and for the first time in a long time, I felt something I hate feeling: powerless. Because when someone can end you without a single word, you realize the breakup didn't happen that day. It happened the moment she stopped needing to explain. It was breakup day, the kind of day that trends like a joke until it lands in your chest like a brick. People posting glow-ups, new era captions, playlists called healing. Everyone acting like pain is aesthetic if you add the right filter. I wasn't in that mood. I wasn't even in a mood. I was just quiet. Not the calm kind. The kind where your body is still, but your mind is pacing. I opened our chat like I was checking the weather, like I wasn't about to step into something that could ruin my whole day in 1 second. And there it was, my last message, sent hours ago. Simple, unarmed. Not a paragraph, not a speech. Just the kind of line you send when you're trying to be normal about missing someone. The kind of line that says, "I'm here," without begging them to come back. Under it, seen. No reply. No reaction. No, "I don't know what to say." No, "I'm sorry." No, "I can't." Just seen, like a stamp, like a decision, like the universe saying, "Message received, heart declined." And that's when I understood something people don't talk about enough. Sometimes closure isn't a conversation. It's a notification. That scene wasn't loud. It didn't scream. It didn't insult me. It didn't even explain itself. But it ended something in me anyway. Because when someone can read your heart and leave it there, unanswered, what else is there to wait for? I stared at it longer than I want to admit. Not because I thought it would change. Because I kept hoping my brain had misread it. Like maybe if I blinked hard enough, the word would turn into something else. A typing bubble, a mistake. Anything that didn't feel like that clean, quiet rejection. But it stayed, and I felt my chest do that thing it does when the truth arrives. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just a deep, dull shift. Like something heavy finally settled where it had been hovering. People think I don't feel things the way everyone else does. They think I'm built out of logic and deadlines. That I'm too busy thinking about the future to be wrecked by something as small as a message left unread. That I'm untouchable because of the life I live. But that's the funny part. The things that feel big to the world don't always touch you the way the small things do. The world can shout your name all day, and it won't matter. But one person's silence, that can break you. Not because you're weak, because you cared. And I cared more than I let on. I didn't want to admit that at first. I tried to do the thing I always do. I tried to intellectualize it, to turn it into something I could analyze. I told myself she was busy, that she didn't know what to say, that she was trying to protect the peace, that seen didn't mean anything, that people read messages all the time and reply later. I built a whole defense system in my head in about 12 seconds. But deep down, I knew. If someone wants to answer you, they answer you. Even if it's messy, even if it's imperfect, even if it's just a single sentence. Silence is still a sentence, and she wrote it perfectly. Breakup day has this weird energy. It makes everyone act brave even when they're bleeding privately. It makes people post about choosing themselves like it doesn't hurt, like leaving doesn't come with grief, like losing someone doesn't make your throat tighten randomly while you're brushing your teeth. I wasn't posting. I wasn't performing. I was sitting with that one word on my screen and realizing I was finally out of excuses. Because the truth is, it didn't end today. Today just made it undeniable. It ended slowly, quietly, in pieces. It ended in all the moments I said, "Give me a minute," and meant it. And then minutes became hours, and hours became days. It ended in the times I promised I'd show up and my life swallowed me whole and I didn't fight my way back in time. It ended every time she tried to reach me emotionally, and I answered with solutions instead of softness, logic instead of presence, strategy instead of comfort. It ended when she started feeling alone while still technically with me, and I didn't notice fast enough. Or maybe I noticed and kept choosing not to look too closely because I didn't want to admit what it would cost to fix it. That's what hurts the most now. Not that she left, that she probably started leaving long before she actually did, and I was still acting like we were fine because it was easier than facing what was happening. The thing about seen is that it doesn't just mean your message was read, it means you were read, and she read me. She read the effort, she read the pattern. She read the way I kept trying to keep her in my life without actually making room for her. She saw the whole story in one glance, and she chose quiet. I used to think quiet meant safe. Now I understand quiet can be lethal. Not because it's cruel, because it's final. I remember when her silence used to feel like comfort, when we could sit together and not speak, and it felt like closeness, not distance. She had that rare kind of presence where she didn't need to fill space to prove she cared. She could just exist beside you, and it felt like home. That's what I fell for first. Not her face, not the idea, not the fantasy. Her calm. But somewhere along the way, calm turned into absence, and I didn't know the difference until it was too late. I think about the last time we were okay. Not perfect, not movie love, just okay in the way real relationships are okay. Messy and human, but still connected. I remember laughing about something stupid, like truly stupid. The kind of laugh that happens when you're comfortable enough to be unfiltered. Her eyes crinkling, her head tipping back, that sound in the room that made everything feel lighter. I remember thinking, this is it. This is what matters. And then I went right back to treating it like it would always be there. That's the trap. When something feels steady, you start thinking it's unbreakable. You start thinking love is a background app. You don't realize it's still using battery, and if you never charge it, it dies. She tried to talk to me before she went quiet. That's another part people never include in the highlight reel. Silence doesn't arrive first. It's usually the last option. It's what someone uses when they're tired of explaining what hurts. There were moments when she asked me questions that weren't really questions. She'd say, "Do you even like being with me?" Not in a jealous way, in a searching way, like she was trying to find the truth without begging for it. And I'd answer like a genius idiot. I'd say, "Of course I do," and then I'd go right back to being half present. I didn't realize that "of course" means nothing without evidence. I didn't realize reassurance is cheap when your actions don't match it. I thought love was something you feel. I forgot love is something you do. I'm not saying I never tried. I did. But I tried like someone who thinks effort is measured in intention, not impact. I tried in the ways that made sense to me, fixing things, providing, planning, solving. And she needed something I couldn't spreadsheet, a version of me that was fully there without multitasking her. She wanted to feel chosen in small moments, not in speeches, not in grand gestures, in the everyday, in attention, in consistency, in the way you respond without making them feel like they're interrupting your real life. And I didn't do that enough. So when breakup day came, she didn't need to say it. The silence said it for her. That's what broke me. Not a fight, not a breakup call, not tears on the phone, just seen. It was so clean it felt brutal. It made me realize how many times I'd left her emotionally on red. How many times she'd said something with her eyes and I'd pretended not to see it. How many times she'd asked for a little more and I answered with a little less. How many times she'd probably lay in bed next to me, feeling alone, while I was technically there, physically present, but mentally somewhere else. I hate that I can picture it now. I hate that it took losing her for my imagination to finally work. That day, after I saw the scene, I didn't do anything dramatic. I didn't call. I didn't send 10 messages. I didn't post a story. I didn't try to win. I just sat. Because I finally understood that chasing a person who has chosen silence is like arguing with a closed door. You can knock until your knuckles bleed. It doesn't change the fact that it's closed. And there was something in me that didn't want to bleed for someone who wouldn't even speak. Not because I didn't love her, because I finally loved myself enough not to beg for the basics. That's what changes you. The moment you stop asking for effort like it's a gift. I stared at the scene and I felt two emotions at once, which is rare for me. Grief and relief. Grief because it hurt. Relief because I didn't have to guess anymore. That's the thing about silence. It tortures you when you're still hoping, but once you accept it's an answer, it becomes strangely clarifying. It's like your brain stops running simulations. You stop refreshing. You stop building alternate endings. You just face what is. And what is that she's gone. Not physically, maybe, not publicly, not as a headline, but emotionally, she's gone. And I didn't lose her in one moment. I lost her in 1,000 micro moments where I didn't choose her. The first time I realized she was pulling away, I told myself she was just stressed. I told myself she needed space. I told myself it was normal. I told myself everything except the truth. She was getting tired of waiting for me to become the version of me she needed. And I didn't want to face that because it would mean facing my limitations. It would mean admitting I wasn't giving enough. Not because I couldn't, because I wouldn't. Because I kept choosing later. I kept thinking I'd make it up to her later. But later is a lie you tell people when you don't want to change now. And relationships don't survive later for very long. Breakup day made me realize I had been living like time was infinite. Like love had unlimited patience. Like someone's heart could just keep waiting for you to show up. That's the most childish part of ambition. It tricks you into thinking everything else can pause while you build. Like the people in your life are static, frozen in place, waiting for you to finish becoming yourself. But people aren't frozen. They're living. They're growing. They're getting tired. They're leaving. And sometimes they leave without slamming the door because they don't even have energy left to be angry. That's what her silence was. Exhausted love. And that is the saddest kind. I don't know if she knew what seen would do to me. Maybe she did. Maybe she wanted it to hurt, so I'd finally understand. Maybe she didn't mean it as a weapon at all. Maybe she just couldn't type words anymore. Maybe she didn't want to start a conversation that would turn into a loop. I don't know. But I know what it did. It closed the part of me that was still bargaining. I had been bargaining for weeks, bargaining with time, bargaining with my schedule, bargaining with my pride, bargaining with reality. Maybe she'll come back if I just send the right message, if I just explain it better, if I just prove it, if I just change fast enough. But you can't speed run trust. You can't patch emotional neglect with one big update. She needed consistency, not a comeback. And my scene moment was my final lesson. When someone stops responding, it's because they've already responded to themselves. They've made peace with the idea of life without you, and you're the last one to accept it. That day I walked around like nothing happened, because that's what you do when you don't want the world to see you bleeding. But everything felt slightly off. Colors looked duller, music felt farther away, even the air felt heavier. I kept checking my phone even though I knew there would be nothing. That's the addiction of hope. It doesn't quit the moment reality arrives. It lingers. It tries to convince you the story isn't over. But the scene kept pulling me back. Every time hope tried to rise, the scene pressed it down. I started remembering things I hadn't thought about in months. The way she used to send voice notes when she missed me because texting wasn't enough. The way she'd say my name like it mattered, like she wasn't just talking to Elon Musk, but to the person underneath everything. The way she'd look at me when I was distracted and still try to pull me back with softness instead of anger. And I realized how rare that was. Not everyone loves you gently. Not everyone tries. Some people just leave the moment it gets hard. She stayed longer than she should have, and I repaid her with half presence. So yeah, scene was closure, but it was also a mirror. It showed me what I'd been doing to her, and I didn't like what I saw. The weirdest part is that I didn't even feel like I deserved to be angry. Because what would I be angry at? That she didn't fight for us? She fought, quietly, for a long time, in ways I didn't respect while it was happening.
That she didn't explain?
She explained enough. I just didn't listen deeply enough.
That she left?
She left because she had to stop shrinking, so the only emotion left was sadness, and something close to shame. Not shame like I'm a bad person. Shame like I knew better. Because I did. I knew I was pushing her to the edge. I just thought she wouldn't jump. I thought love would keep her there. But love doesn't make you tolerate abandonment. Love doesn't mean you accept crumbs. Love doesn't mean you keep bleeding quietly just because the other person is busy building their empire. Breakup day wasn't about losing her. It was about realizing I had already lost her and still kept acting like I hadn't. And that realization is humiliating because it means I wasn't present enough to notice my own relationship ending in real time. It's crazy how someone can be the center of your private world and you still fail them. And the part that hurts the most is the part that's so Gen Z, it feels almost stupid. The scene wasn't just silence. It was public silence. Like, not public to the world, but public to the platform. The app acknowledged it. The app validated the ignoring. It's like technology made the rejection official. And there's something so dystopian about that. Like we turned love into read receipts and still expected it to be sacred. I wanted to hate the feature, but it wasn't the feature. It was her choice. And her choice was loud, even without words. So here's what I did next. I didn't send another message. Not because I didn't have more to say. I had a million things to say. I could have written a novel in that chat. Apologies, explanations, promises, regrets, the whole emotional TED Talk. But I didn't. Because I finally understood something. Sending paragraphs to someone who answered with "seen" is just you disrespecting yourself in HD. I couldn't do it. Not after feeling what that silence did to me. Not after realizing how much of my dignity I'd already spent trying to keep something alive that was dying. So I let the last thing be what it was, a message, seen, closure. And then I did the only thing that actually heals you. I stopped asking her to confirm what was already true. I started confirming it for myself. I told myself quietly, it's over. Not as a punishment, as a release. And when I said that internally, something loosened. Not my love, my grip. My grip on outcome. My grip on maybe. My grip on the fantasy that if I just did one more perfect thing, she'd come back. Because that fantasy was keeping me stuck. And stuck is not a form of love. It's a form of fear. I don't know what she's doing now. I don't know if she thinks about me. I don't know if she ever reopens the chat and feels something. I don't know if she's already laughing with someone else. I don't know if she's healing. I don't know if she's numb. And the truth is, it's not my business anymore. That's what closure really is, when you stop making your feelings someone else's responsibility. I can miss her without contacting her. I can regret without chasing. I can learn without forcing a second chance. And on breakup day, that's what I chose. Not because I'm cold, because I'm finally honest. Honest about what I did, honest about what it cost, honest about what I can't undo, and honest about the fact that her silence didn't end me, it ended my denial. It ended the part of me that was still pretending we had time. Because we didn't. We had moments, and I wasted too many of them. So if you're watching this and you've ever been left on scene, I need you to understand something that would have saved me weeks of pain. Don't romanticize silence. Don't treat no response like a puzzle. Don't make absence into a story that comforts you. It's not a hidden message, it's a message. It says, I'm done. And the moment you accept that, you get your power back. Not power over them, power over yourself. That's what her scene gave me. Not a reply, a reality. And reality hurts, but it also frees you. Because once you stop begging for clarity, you start living. I'm not saying I'm okay. I'm saying I'm awake. I'm awake to how love actually works. I'm awake to how fragile connection is when you treat it like it's guaranteed. I'm awake to how dangerous it is to assume someone will always understand you. Understanding isn't infinite. Patience isn't infinite. People aren't infinite. And if you don't treat them like they can leave, they will. So yeah, breakup day. Her scene. My closure. It's wild that one word could do that. But maybe it wasn't the word. Maybe it was everything behind it. Everything I avoided. Everything she endured. Everything we didn't say. And maybe closure isn't the end of love. Maybe it's the end of self-abandonment. Because I won't abandon myself trying to hold on to someone who chose silence. Not again. Not after this. Not after seeing the truth in plain text. Seen. And finally understood.